All right, everyone. Ian here with Minuteman Theory. This is Brad.
Hi.
So, we're doing a part 2 to the Pyrodex versus Black Powder series. It was basically a Mythbusters episode. It was kind of Black Powder Mythbusters. So, we caught some flack for it not being safe, basically. That, you can't make a correlation between speed and chamber pressures. So, we kind of wanted to, we want to do a follow-up to kind of get some information out there that, we didn't gloss over, we didn't even realize at the time. We've kind of gotten, some more information. And so with that, the caveat is just because it worked in our firearms doesn't mean it's going to work in your firearm, okay? We were using smaller loads. You start pushing them out to 120, 130 grains. Go get your firearm checked out by a gunsmith. Make sure that your firearm is of new modern condition. It's of new modern metals, all that stuff. We're not telling you to go out and do it. We're just saying, for us, it worked. For you, it may not, and we're not telling you to go out and do it. Go get checked by a licensed gunsmith before you do anything.
Yeah, and understanding the limits of your rifle is very important. Our rifles, at least, I looked up mine. It's rated for 120 grains of black powder. So when we were shooting those 60 and 80 grain charges, even 20% more than that was 20% more than 80 grains would be 96 grains. So even if we were, putting more pressure through it with the different powder, we still weren't even reaching that upper limit. And I'm sure that these rifles, they tell you 120, but they're actually rated higher for safety reasons.
Right. I still wouldn't recommend.
No, yeah. Don't go over their
Right.
recommended ratings. But
Right.
But yeah, what we were doing, I feel was completely safe.
Yes.
But Ian is right. Make sure what works in our firearms doesn't necessarily work in yours. You need to do your own experimentation and testing.
Yes. So with that, we're going to kind of go into a actual study basically with this. It won't be a long video, but like I said, we're just trying to get some more information out there.
We were testing the velocities of the same powder charges between Pyrodex and black powder, and we were getting very similar velocities. Some people were saying that velocity and pressure is not directly correlated, and so it was bad science. And that is somewhat true and somewhat not true. So after doing a whole ton of research, because I wanted to make sure that we were putting out good information, there's two different types of pressure. And if you're a gunsmith or if you do a lot of reloading, you probably know this already. But there is peak pressure and there is average pressure. So when your powder charge goes off, you have fast powder and long burning powder. Our black powder is more of a fast powder and our Pyrodex is more of a long burning powder. So what happens is when the this is my little graph. We've got pressure on this axis and we've got time on this axis. So with the black powder, our charge goes off and the pressure peaks really, really quick and then falls off really quick. With the Pyrodex, it takes a little bit longer and peaks and then falls off. So this is kind of the difference between the explosive and the propellant as well. And this is obviously not drawn to scale, but peak pressure is what blows things up. And black powder, after doing some more research, black powder has a higher peak pressure than Pyrodex. But Pyrodex has a higher average pressure than black powder. So what ends up happening is if you have an equivalent charge of both of these, the average pressure ends up being about the same. It's just the peak pressure is different. So you get a similar velocity, but different pressure characteristics. And this is just me after doing like an hour of research. I really don't know much about this, so this probably is flawed, but this is how I understood it. So another thing we found after doing some research is that the reason we are getting that similar average pressure and the similar velocities with how we were measuring the pressure, is that Pyrodex is less dense than black powder. So when you measure it by volume, it is a 1-to-1 equivalent. But when you measure it by weight, the Pyrodex is going to weigh 20 to 30% less. So measuring by volume, you can use it 1-to-1, but if you measured it by weight, you do have to reduce it. At least that's what we found from the research. What we're going to do now is we're going to take you over to the powder scale, and Ian is going to weigh out different charges, and we are going to see if there really is that much difference. And maybe that's where this whole reduce your Pyrodex powder charge by 20% comes from.
I'm going to measure out, and we're going to weigh it with an actual factual scale. I've zeroed the scale out, everything. You know, if you look, you can see that the two pieces are lined up right there, which is how they should be. That annotates a 0, or that the scale is zeroed. So we're going to do 40 grains of Pyrodex and 40 grains of black powder. You can see right there. So let's see here. I'll start with black powder. Just pour it in here. Try and make sure this is as even as we can possibly make it. Okay, that is as even as I feel like it can be. Now, if everything's right, okay, it's a little less than 40, but I also put a little bit on the table here, which is, which happens. So, I mean, that's relatively close. Now, for 20%, we're going to see a significant difference in the scale once I pour it on.
Well, so a 20% reduction would be a difference of what, 7 grains?
Yeah, you'll definitely see the difference here. Okay, so now we will do 40 grains of Pyrodex. I can even see that it compacts a little bit more. Come on. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Wow. Not even close.
That didn't even tip the scale at all. You should try and figure out what that is. Yeah, measure.
So it's at 40 now. So the scale is balanced out. It's at 35.2 grains. And our first one would have been 40 grains of black powder. This is 35.2.
And we did the math real quick, and that is a 13% difference. So the 20%, if you're loading by weight, then that 20%, that is good advice.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you're loading by volume, they're about 1-to-1.
Again, with our comparison.
With what we've tested.
Yeah. So yeah, that's an interesting. I didn't need. I'm glad that we brought the scale out and did that. So
yeah.
Again, get your firearm checked out by your gunsmith. Peak pressures and average pressures are different. All that sort of stuff. But for us, it seems to work just fine.
Yep. Thanks for watching this follow-up. Let us know if you already knew this information, or let us know if there's anything else that we should test.
Yeah, and again, guys, thanks for all the comments and everything. We get a lot of really good information from our people who put comments on our videos. Things we wouldn't even think about, and that's helpful. So
yeah, and we're here to share knowledge, and we hope that the people in the comments, like they have been,
yes,
also share knowledge with us and with everybody else. That way we can all learn this stuff.
And it's the Christmas season.
Yeah. Wait, let's see your hat.